Every damn day.
Hello, everyone. It's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to Season 2, Episode 5 of Every Damn Day. We will get to our guest in a second, but I want to tell you about a few things that are coming up in the next few days. One is the Fledge Crypto Ecosystem. Our meetup is tomorrow from 12 to 2, and we've got an exciting agenda talking about some of the statuses where the ecosystem is evolving and how we're growing, and then some plans for the future. They call it a roadmap with what we're doing with the ecosystem and how we're trying to basically take what the community has built at the Fledge and give it back to the community because they are the ones who built it. So we'll be talking about that, and you'll hear more and more as we go throughout the year here. And the other thing is, I really want to push our STEM entrepreneurial program for Lansing School District students from 7th to 12th grade. And that would be the schools of Lansing, Everett, Sexton, and Eastern, and then Gardner and Dwight Rich. There is a form on the Facebook Fledge Facebook page. So please go fill out that form. It's not complicated. And we'd really like to have a lot of people to consider for that program and to try to fit as many as we can. And that leads to the next thing is we need mentors. So we also have a mentor sign up sheet out there. And if you're interested in, if you're just interested in helping our youth do something that might be able to expand what they're learning at school, then please get involved. It doesn't require any certification or degree or anything like that. It requires a passion for kids. And if you have that, then everything else will start to work out. And as we're trying to prove with the show, which I think we proved in season 1, everybody has an expertise in something. Everybody has a competency to share. And it's through you coming and sharing that our community gets stronger. So with that said, those are my promotions for the day. I can't wait to bring my guest on. So I got to switch my camera here because I think that the guest that we have today is improving the community, strengthening the community in very unique and creative and innovative ways. And I can't wait to get into this conversation with Zero. How you doing today, Zero?
I'm doing well enough.
Well enough. I like that. I think we actually talked about this a couple of days ago.
We did.
That response, that here's the message, here's the canned response, here's the not very authentic.
Script dialogues.
Yeah.
And we all run script dialogues in our daily lives.
Yeah.
Which it's interesting to think about and start with that as a topic of what is scripting and what is masking, and how we're always wearing a mask, whether we're wearing a mask because our personalities and our souls are coming through as unique individual experiences given our past stimulus and our future karma of we're just the present state that we find ourselves in, the be here now mentality of the soul experiencing reality around it. So,
yeah. So, I feel like the mask metaphor is very powerful because we have been wearing masks since the day we were born, probably, or I don't know if it's that close.
Yeah, and they're cultural and generational masks as well that we inherit from our cultures. So
yeah,
it's not from before the days we were born. We're wearing masks that started in the 1400s, and even earlier.
Yeah, I think that a lot of masks came down in the 2016 to present. A lot of people were exposed for maybe what they really believed, maybe what they really thought, sometimes good, sometimes bad.
I definitely agree with that. And the idea of tolerance, universal tolerance, always breeds intolerance, because when you tolerate all behavior and activity, you tolerate those fringe beliefs and structures of extremists, because everyone is and this isn't a thing that we should change. This is the thing that's important that we keep in mind moving forward, that you have to see the humanity. I have to see the humanity in every person, in someone who may support a different political ideal as me, or a different social ideal, or whatever our different viewpoints are. That's the universe, once again, communicating through soul, through the masks that they wear and the reasons that they wear those masks. And if you get into the deeper understanding of these people, I've been watching interesting documentaries on people who go as minorities into like hate groups, and like, psychologically kind of break down what all these people believe in, and even adopt their mannerisms and use like the negative stereotypes. And you can see that like white supremacists, for instance, cringe when someone uses like a racial slur in front of them, that when it's their race that they're like their own race that they're slurring, and like, asking them like, well, why do you think that is, and like, would you like me to stop? And it kind of engenders and it plants a seed of doubt in that extremist mentality. Because when we get to extremes, we can jump right into my poverty section, that poverty builds and nurtures extremes, usually in the negative, that when you don't have Maslow's hierarchies with needs met, and the second Bill of Human Rights by Eleanor Roosevelt, which was drafted after World War II to give a baseline and floor for humanity to be able to thrive instead of just survive.
Let's put a comment out there. The second, what?
The second
Oh,
Bill
wait,
of Human
I have
Rights.
to do it later.
It's all right.
The second Bill of Human Rights. I
Yeah.
thought you said no at first, and it didn't sound right.
I probably just stuttered.
No, I'll find that when it's live and post something out there.
Eleanor Roosevelt, she did much more than FDR, if you ask me. But that's just some fun side rhetoric of great women of history being not acknowledged for their work, what they do, and men taking credit for their wives' ideas. So
is that a good lead into pronouns and names and
Sure.
stuff like that?
Let's take it back to Europe and just gender roles. And the French have like a beautiful language, and their construction of pronouns and language. You start with to be, I am, you are, he is, she is, we are, they are, y'all are, or you all. The plural informal of saying, if I'm speaking to you from outside of a culture point, I would say y'all, because that's a respectful term of saying you all, of like you and the embodiment of all others that exist outside of me. If we take it to the fun word identity, there's a old one-act play that's called Identity Crisis, and there's a monologue in it that goes, identity, you identity, he, she, or its identity, we identity, y'all identity, they identity. And it just our identity and our ego of what we are, there's more to mental health and like the experience of also being around other neurodivergent people. Their minds work a little differently. When we all start to get together, our minds all start to work a little differently, and we all start to see new ways. Which to get back to the pronoun game, that I studied languages at an early age, and also was raised in the gay and lesbian community in like the late 90s. So it was very different back then. It was when the gays and the lesbians were finally getting together for the first time to peacefully coexist, because boys are bad, girls are bad, and like that sort of like juvenile mentality of really watching the culture grow up over the last 30 years. It's been an interesting place to be.
And you've watched and I don't mean this as a dig, but you've watched the acronym get
expand.
Longer,
Grow.
which has been
That's nature.
More acceptance in the community.
Yeah,
right?
and like it's interesting thinking back of even like liberal gay and lesbian citizens, men and women, that they weren't quite ready to say, but bisexuality is okay. Like, it's okay to be straight, but not really. but it's okay to be gay because that was their bias. But it's not okay to be bi because you got to pick a line in the sand and you can't be on their side and on our side. And trans people at that point were really considered a real fringe of like mental illness, like in those communities, from my experience of hearing people in those circles tell the same stories that trans people are telling, but missing the mark because of their bias. So it's interesting to see like the umbrella term of like, you know, the LGBTQI plus, and I think that plus is a good place to just kind of like let it just, you know,
That's
just,
the you all now, right?
Well, yeah, it's also kind of, if you think of our current society and our materialist society, we've got like HBO plus, we've got Speedway plus, like, you know, it's just, you got to put a plus on there in order to be in the meta, you know, be relevant. So I didn't answer your question per se, but how I identify sometimes as I identify sometimes as we, I identify as us. I try to, when like gender, I can identify, like that's more of on the perceiver, the person that's viewing me and experiencing me, like what my energy is. Like I have very feminine energy when necessary, very masculine energy when necessary. And even the balance of the yin and yang, fourth Wahlberg, we will have at some point. But the idea of carrying that balance with you all the time, that there is toxicity and health.
There's mine, by the way.
Right, nice. Like the path between toxicity and health in the individual and in the culture and in society at large are all reflections of each other. Like our poverty determines the success, or more often over determines the failure, and like, let's say, kind of a lean against future generations. And that's what debts and infinitely growing economies and taking water from the Great Lakes and
we're going to spend 30 minutes on that.
Yeah, well, that's one of my other side projects.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I don't do many plugs, but for Michigan Mosaic and like the work that we're doing with Michigan Mosaic, and the idea that we're all a mosaic tile, that it doesn't matter which box I tick. What matters is that I'm a box. Like, and like the box that I represent is I am the zero mosaic tile. I am the one that everything else at the moment, in my perspective, surrounds. But the idea that I have kind of a fun philosophy that when I introduce myself, usually at the end of a conversation, not at the beginning of a conversation, I don't introduce myself when I meet someone, because one, I'm terrible with names and I need to have a story that connects my thoughts and minds so I can think of that person, think of their story, and then think of how they introduce themselves at the end of the experience than the beginning, because like the whole time either I'm really engaged and interested in what we're talking about and I've totally forgotten what your name is. Like that is like erroneous data. But so
I like that tactic because I'm horrible too.
Yeah,
and it takes me a while.
And I did a lot of high school theater, and we had a few different exercises for just learning people's names. Like one thing, it's like repetition, like that you have to like repeat people's names several times, and that's something that for some reason, given that I try to seek ego death in myself, it's kind of like my identity, your identity, of like, you know, what my name is, what your name is. That doesn't mean who you are. Like in my name, my biblical name was chosen out of the Bible by my mother, who didn't want me, and she just needed a name, so she looked in the Bible. And
so I've known you as 3 names. I don't know if the middle one was a nickname or not, but it was super fun to refer to you as that because everybody knew.
Oh, people in the community know me as the Wizard?
Yes.
Yes. Well, that's because I introduced myself as like, that is my title more than my name. Like that's what I do. I do wizard things. The Arthur C. Clarke quote from it's a Gem's corollary that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, which it's Gem's corollary to get like to nerd out, like because the original quote is any technology that can be differentiated, any technology that doesn't seem like it's magic is insufficiently advanced. And but like the thing is, like, we're a linear people, and like we grow and change. So the corollary in a book got picked up over the original, the 3 rules of robotics, as Arthur C. Clarke wrote. And I've spent 2021 going through a whole catalog of wonderful 20th century science fiction, entertaining like the idea of what is poetry. And the best answer that I've come up with through the many sleepless nights of just sitting up, like wondering what is poetry, I find that the answer is yes. And if you dig a little deeper, like it's like, what do you mean? Yes. Yes, I mean what? No, what? And then you get into the Abbott and Costello, I think it is, like who's on first, what's on second. But like when you ask what is art, you're not asking what is art, you're stating what, like the what is art, like that, like it's the question is the art. So the answer is yes. And it just kind of rolls into itself.
Is that so is there a continuum where everything could fall on this continuum of poetry or art or whatever, and it's an encompassing what every what is?
I feel like it's like the what is because you have all of your important journalistic questions of who, what, where, when, why. Like people get caught up on the who and the like where and the when, like most often that's like those are 3 analogous dimensions, if you will, of existence, of like, when does something happen, who does it happen with, like, but the questions that we don't like, scientists ask how it happens, how it works, like how things go. Philosophers ask why do these things happen, like what's the deeper reference, and like that goes back to Socrates and his causes of like, what's the cause of a table, like the primary cause of the table, or the material cause is the wood, the primary cause I think is that it holds things, but I should have done my homework better.
No, that's all right.
But the idea that you have many different causes in one single object that's all fulfilling its goal and its need in the world. And when you ask what is table, like you can say a table is 4 legs and a flat plane that holds things and is stable and level and all of these qualifiers.
I'm not sure this is a table then. It's
Right?
not very stable.
Well, it is stable. Like it's not like
It has a stability property.
Yes, it won't fall down. Like like wobbling is not unstable. Like unstable is like falling down.
Well, wobbling, especially if you're a skyscraper, is not
necessary.
unstable.
It's necessary.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you're a bipedal being who moves on 2 legs, wobbling is like no matter how straight you walk, you're never walking straight.
I watched an interesting. They had a bicycle and they made it so it was impossible to turn left with it, and you can't ride it straight because you need that. You need that wobble.
There's a lot of mysteries. I don't want to get into the mysteries of bicycles, but we've been studying the mechanics of bicycles for over a century, and there's still things that defy explanation. I haven't gotten too deep into it, but like the gyroscopic stabilization, just like what you're saying, if you can't stabilize your gyroscope in both directions, then you're always going to go off kilter, just meander away.
I want to go back to Socrates for a second, as we talk about the scientist and how things work, and they follow a Socratic method,
which is pointing out what you see before you. Like I see a cup, I see a table. Like I experience, I kick the table and it hurts my foot. Thus, the table has mass and it has volume.
Do you? So we've spent centuries just doing that, analyzing that way, solving problems with these root causes, and staying within this kind of boundaries of where the problem lives, without thinking about how it fits in with the rest of the universe, how the system's thinking and the systems are interacting. I feel like you're a great systems thinker. Like you're not just saying that this was caused by this was caused by that, and therefore we take care of this thing, and it becomes a naive solution in the overall picture of the world. I think you're thinking at a different level than that just logical, analytical.
Yeah, pattern recognition is a really important thing for all humans. Like we just all look to patterns, and that's why we have the materialist world that we do. Is that certain patterns feel familiar, like squares, like in our society, feel familiar. That there's nothing square in nature, but yet this is how we build all of our walls because the physics of it allows us to have a uniformity and like normality is like normal means 90 degrees to the horizon. So something that's straight up and down that won't wobble and fall over due to strains from gravity is considered normal. So normal geometry are right angles and the Masons, all of those things that we can get into the hundreds of years of those thought experiment processes. But the idea of the meta systems that I have explored the idea of just meta theory of just thinking in my younger years that just there was a theory of everything out there. Now it's kind of like a dangerous catch-all that when you think you found a theory of everything, you're obviously missing something. And the idea that we can create new systems that are not based on that can be based on the old systems, and a lot of our current systems are just regurgitated centuries old banking and debting systems that never work any time in history. Every 100 years, they're required to collapse. Really, about every 50 years, a monetary system should change over. But instead of allowing the monetary system to die out in the 70s, Alan Greenspan created fractional reserve banking, and then it allowed the infinite splitting of money. And not to get too far away from the topic of the social progress, it allowed debt to be built on that system. That system doesn't just fracture on its own and say, hey, like you now have more money in the system. Like also you have more money in the system, and the people that are using the money have embodied debt of that money is losing value at a constant rate, and inflation will go up as it's losing that buying power. The velocity comes down to really fun things. People that hoard big bunches of money, it makes the other money that's in the system more scarce and like if we had a trophic currency, something that was edible, then or something that rots, like at the end of the day and loses its value, we would be able to discourage that hoarding mentality that the richest of our societies have gotten into. But just touching on universal basic income as being one of the ways forward that I see at that. It goes back to Nixon tried to do it. Martin Luther King Jr. had his guaranteed minimum income, that there is like, that
Nixon was that close. People didn't know that.
Yeah, I know. And then the whole Watergate thing happened and like other things surrounding it. It's just, it's funny. It's funny how it goes.
Yeah.
But Martin Luther King, like, the old saying, you got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. It's like his response was, how can you pull yourself up by your bootstraps if you don't have boots?
Right.
So
it's so we're at about 24 minutes here. I want to make sure before I ask you the next question, and then we do our Tic Tac for the first time, I want to make sure that we cover the things that you wanted to cover. And I know we don't have time to, because you and I have talked for hours and hours over the years. We didn't cover anything
I wanted to cover.
Oh, okay.
But, that's
well, is there something you want to squeeze in? Silver?
Yeah, I can talk about silver for a second. But the idea is of a physical currency, of something that instead of having cryptocurrencies for our own sovereign economies, by passing around something that has a base value in society. That silver is interesting because it has antibacterial properties, it has electronics properties. It's if we want to live in a technological future, we're going to need silver for that technology. And eventually we're going to run out of silver that's coming out of the mines in Mexico and other places that.
So I'm carrying 5 ounces of silver. It's a Fibonacci number, so
It's interesting. I would try to get into 5 before.
But I also carry silver. So I've pulled out some 1 ounce silver. So has 0, and also a bunch of mercury dimes that are really cool to see.
90% silver, 10% copper.
Yeah. So thanks for sharing that with us. I'm interested in comparing our different silvers at some point too. You said, were you saying get into the Fibonacci?
Yeah,
or
just that, and like just in closing, that everything that I've built on my system of the future of trying to change the world. I used to say save the world, but the world doesn't need saving. We need saving.
That's right.
But is on the rule of 5, that we have 5 fingers on our hand, so things are very easily correlatable in our brains because our brains evolved along with our hands in order to have that rule of 5. In the state of Michigan, if you take 5 and raise it to the power of 10, 5 times power of 10, you get approximately 9.7 million, which is just at the cusp of what the Michigan population is. At Lansing's population, like Greater Lansing, that if you have a 5 by 5 by 5 expression of everyone having like a family home group of 5 people, and it doesn't necessarily have to be 5 people in a physical home, but just 5 people that you identify with as your direct peers or your family group or whatever you want to call it. Words are meaningless at that point. Then you have your borough, which is 125 people. You have 5 groups of 5, 5 groups of 25, and then those boroughs elect an elder that goes to a group of 125 other boroughs from around the city and has representation from that family group to a person, and it falls under Dunbar's number of being between 90 and 150 people, and 125 is just that perfect 5 cubed representation. And that's my Dunbar's fractal philosophy that I'm hoping to get instated. We didn't get to some of your other questions because I have a tendency to.
I think that's okay because you covered so much, and I want to. The number 121 sticks in my head because on the T table and statistics, it really approaches normality. Yeah. Back to that word again, whatever normal is. Right. And so I like the number 125 too because it really feels like that should have been the number.
Yeah. There's definitely in their spikes. I was playing with the calculator last night, just thinking about being able to kind of put this into a representation that there's spikes in like the 5 and like my 5 rules for basically allowing us to get off this planet and out into space in a responsible way, is that we have to follow 5 steps. We have to gather renewable and sustainable. We have to gather resources. We have to share those resources with each other because we can't all gather everything. So you gather something, I gather something. We share each of what we gather. When we have an excess of what we gather, we get to storage, and we store that excess of energy, materials. And when we get to that point of being able to have more things than we need, we get to transport. We transport that storage to other people that are doing steps 1 through 3. And when we transport across a global network, those materials to alleviate people from poverty that don't have things in their area, or basically by sending supply chains around the world in a non-centralized and decentralized manner, we get to the 5th step, which is just I refer to as up or ascension, which when we have more resources than what is needed to meet the bare minimum of human decency, then we are grown up as a species enough to actually go out into space. And so like the billionaire model of just squandering everything, I've taken the exact opposite and inverted it, and that it's on every person, every farmer, every person that carries water or is moves water, because I don't think that our pinnacle form is carrying water, that we have
Yeah.
the intelligence to be able to move water without having to bear its burden. And it's good to have that burden to carry your water where you need to be, but as a society, no one of us can carry all the water for the tribe. It's just
There's
understandable.
there's a phrase I like. I'm not sure if it's even relevant, but it's and I think it's a Native American. One of the tribes, it had an origin there. Cut the rut, and the water will make it deep. And we've learned to use things like that
You fill
in
in
the
the
world.
potholes, like you don't allow
Yeah.
those cracks to form and do their job. You gotta have everything uniform and
Yeah.
smooth and nice.
So you want to try this Tic Tac thing? It's
Yeah,
an
let's-
experiment. We
it's
might
an
not even do it.
experiment.
We don't love Tic Tac.
We do not love Tic Tac, and it's complicated. Is it complicated? I don't know. I'm up for it. I have never done a TikTok. I know I'm old, so
I don't want to make you violate some value there. Like I've never watched E.T. and I'm never gonna do it, and no one could make me right
I used
now.
to have
Even
nightmares about it. So you're probably winning on that.
so, I was thinking of a 15-second one, so just really short. But I don't know what to do. Do you have any suggestions? Any do we ask everyone a question and ask them to respond to it? Do we suggest that they do something and or stitch with us once they do it? Like, what do you think we should all be doing to make our community stronger? I think you could say that in an abstract way. That's why I'm asking it abstractly. So you want to do that one?
Sure. Let's go with something along the lines of, let's see here. I think that we should start with the statement that everyone has a personal skill, that's something that that they are passionate about, and no matter what that is, it's important that you share those passions, and then for the stitching in, as you said, I think of just
so then they can take the video
post,
and
what's your talent, what's your skill, what's your passion.
All right.
So
you got that down to 15 seconds? I can type in there too if we have other questions.
Yeah, I think so.
All right. As soon as I hit it, it's on you.
Hello, everyone out there in the TikTok world. I am Zero, and I'm coming to you to ask or to tell that everyone has time, talent, and tools and skills that we have developed over our time, talent, and tool use, and ask.
So let's do 30.
Yeah.
Right?
30.
So we'll go back.
I also flubbed, so.
No, that's all right. It was, I think we were getting there.
Yeah, let's just, I do a little bit of YouTube videography as well. And shorts are really interesting.
So we're making a TikTok, everyone that can't see us. And sorry out there, we're ignoring you, but we want to make this start to happen.
Hey, it's Zero at the Fledge, and I just wanted to let you guys know that everyone has a skill or a talent, whether you realize it or not. So ask yourself, what is your skill or talent? And you can share. I don't know if it's down below or to the side. I don't TikTok, and I don't but I support that you TikTok, and I want you to show your passion for your TikToking and how that can help not just yourself, but the community around you. How are we doing for time?
We're doing great.
Okay.
All right. So check out the comments, and we'll add a little bit more. I'm going to get my face in there. All right. So I can cut some of that out.
Okay.
All right. So I'll edit that in a little bit.
Not bad
But we're still
off the
live
cuff.
here.
Oh,
So
thank everyone
hey,
for
thank you so very much.
thank everyone for watching, for being a part of this whole every damn day thing. One of the things I didn't get to talk about is my passion for cooking, which I'm going to be trying to do every damn day here. Not necessarily every day, but in 2021, that's what I did every damn day. Is I focused on new recipes, every day, of trying to unlock new abilities of using simple ingredients to make delicious things, because everybody's got to eat, and that's the first and most important step to alleviating poverty.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so
Great
much.
to see you.
All right, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow on Every Damn Day.